Great. My name's Ryan Ellis. I'm with Americans for Tax Reform, the tax policy director. And I've kind of made it my mission over the last year and a half to master the tax side of this. This healthcare fight is such a big one that you can really tuck yourself into a corner of it and do little else, whether it be the life question or the effect it'll have on health insurance and the way we deliver healthcare in this country, to the entitlement side of this, and sort of the way we've tried to carve this out is what's the tax elements of this going to be. And so I've got 4 handouts here, and for those that are either calling in or looking online, 3 of these handouts are on our website, atr.org. The 4th one I literally just finished writing about 20 minutes ago, so it's not up on the website yet, but it's kind of the newsy part of this that we're going to go over. The first thing that people need to keep in mind is that we're really talking about 2 different sets of tax increases here. As everyone knows, on Sunday, when the House voted on these 2 packages, there were 2 things that the House voted on. The first was the House agreed to the Senate bill that passed on Christmas Eve. And that Senate bill had 19 different tax increases in it. And it's all the things that you've heard about, from the individual mandate to the employer mandate. There's a whole comprehensive list of them that we have. Just after that, what the House did was also voted on what's called a reconciliation package. And reconciliation is the procedure that the House and Senate are going to use that only requires 50 or 51 votes in the Senate to pass additional tax increases on top of the tax increases that are, that's, I think earlier this morning, or if not earlier this morning, very soon, was signed into law by President Obama. President Obama signed into law today the health care bill with all of those 19 tax increases that passed out of the Senate on Christmas Eve and passed out of the House on Sunday. We also have a timeline of what this pledge has been. It's entitled Obama's Firm Pledge on Taxes is Anything But. And it goes through from the campaign all the way through last year and this year. Over and over and over again, Obama has reiterated that he does not want to raise any form of taxes on families making less than $250,000 a year. Occasionally, people on his staff have tried to get him out of that, and always they've gone back to it. Well, that was clearly and easily violated today by President Obama signing this bill. That promise is in complete tatters, and it's something that if he has the temerity to say it anymore, is going to be very, very easily refuted, because he signed a massive tax increase today on these people. All right, so that's the fight that we've just lost. We just lost this Senate Christmas Eve health care bill that passed out of the House on Sunday, signed into law by President Obama today, has 19 new tax increases on it. That's the past. What do we do this week? This week, don't forget the House also passed that reconciliation sidecar bill at not the same time, but at the same day on Sunday. That's over on the Senate side. Senate is going to start consideration of that reconciliation package today. And all of the scores that you might find from the Joint Committee on Taxation or from the Congressional Budget Office commingle together the bill that President Obama just signed with the reconciliation changes. And that's not very helpful at all, because it isn't as if the Senate is voting on that combined bill. The Senate is only voting on the reconciliation bill. They're only voting on the bill that makes changes to the law President Obama just signed. So what I did, and this is not yet up on the website, because I want to just recheck the numbers one last time before I post it and it goes live, but I think this is pretty close, is, for those in the room, I have a document called What Tax Changes Are Made in the Healthcare Reconciliation Bill. And what I did was I went through and compared the CBO and the JCT scores of what President Obama just signed into law with the CBO and the JCT scores of the combined bill. And when you do that, the difference between the two is you can disaggregate and take out and isolate the reconciliation portions of this. And so a couple of these I do just want to go through, because this is now the fight. One of the things I've seen people getting very confused about, through no fault of their own, because this is moving very fast, it's very big, it's very complicated, is they're commingling what the President signed into law today with what the Senate is debating on the floor this week. This is what the Senate is debating on the floor this week, all right? This is making changes to current law being defined as what the President just signed into law today. The first is that there's going to be a new 3.8% surtax on unearned income, and that does include capital gains. So you can take the tax rate on capital gains, which is scheduled to rise from 15 to 20% next year, the tax rate on dividends, which is scheduled to rise from 15 to 39.6% next year, or 20% next year under the Obama budget, and the tax rate on all other investment income, which is scheduled to rise from 35 to 39.6% next year. You can just tack a 3.8 percentage point increase on top of all of those. So when it's fully phased in, you'd have a top capital gains rate of close to 24%, 23.8. You'd have a dividends rate of, if the Obama budget is to be believed, also 23.8%. But if current law asserts itself, the dividends rate could get as high as 43.4%. And the tax rate, the top tax rate on all other investment income is going to be 43.4%. That's the first thing it does. Second thing it does is it increases the employer mandate tax. Under the current law, starting in 2014 or 2013, I can't remember which year, employers who do not provide qualifying health insurance coverage are going to have to pay a tax of $750 per employee. This increases that tax to $2,000 per employee, and it increases it for any employee that has coverage that's obtained through the exchange. The fine for that employee is $3,000. It increases the individual mandate tax. This is something that people have gotten really animated about, that if you don't purchase qualifying health insurance starting in 2014 or 2013, I can't remember which one, you individually are going to be responsible for paying an additional surtax, an excise tax on your 1040. This changes it around. If you look when it's fully phased in, the surtax you're going to pay is the greater of 2.5% of your income, your adjusted gross income, or a fixed dollar amount. It's whichever one is greater. And so in 2016, if you're just a single person, it's the greater of 2.5% of your income, or $695. If you have two adults in the household, it's the greater of 2.5% of your income, or $1,390. And if you have three or more adults in your household, it's the greater of 2.5% of your income, or $2,085. Those numbers are higher than what is now current law, the law that President Obama signed into place. It cuts taxes, the fourth point here, it cuts taxes for this Cadillac plan excise tax. This is the one that's on largely union-provided, very expensive health insurance plans. Current law is that there is going to be a Cadillac plan excise tax put into place in 2013. It's a 40% excise tax on any insurance plan to the extent that it exceeds $8,500 in cost if it covers a single person, or $23,000 in cost if it covers a family. It does two things to that tax. First, it delays the implementation date to 2018, which effectively means they're just going to keep kicking the can down the road and never put the thing in place. But also it raises the threshold for an insurance plan being a Cadillac plan from $8,500 single to $10,200 single, and from $23,000 family to $27,500 family. There's a couple other cats and dogs in here as well, but I won't go through them because that's the major stuff. Total tax hike effect, as best I can reckon it, and giving full credit to all the additional tax relief that's in the reconciliation bill, which you'll hear them talking about. The total net tax hike effect, as best I can reckon it, is $79.3 billion over 10 years. That's what this tax increase of this reconciliation bill is going to be. So, the message we're putting out there is, we lost a major fight on Sunday. That fight is lost. President Obama has signed it into law. Rather than wallowing and saying, gee, that sucks, and wait till the election, we actually have a fight this week on the floor of the Senate. Do we want to have an additional tax increase on top of the tax increase that has just been signed into law? Do we want to have an additional tax increase of $80 billion? That's what's going on this week, and that's what we're educating people about.
You said the next fight we need to take on is not allowing the reconciliation package to be passed. In the case that it is passed, what is the next step that the conservative movement needs to take?
Well, if the reconciliation bill gets passed, what that means is that another $80 billion or $70 billion in tax increases will be passed on top of what the president signed into law today. He signed into law a tax bill of $500 billion over the next 10 years, and this would add about another 70 or 80 billion to that. What conservatives need to do from this point forward, if we were to lose that battle, is very simple. We need to repeal these tax increases, and in fact we need to go completely in the other direction. We need to have significant tax relief for the American people so that we can have a less government solution for people's health care rather than a more government solution.
No one's really given much talk about the states, but how much are the states going to have to pay as a result of this bill?
Well, the biggest thing that this is going to impact the states is the expansion of Medicaid. Medicaid's the government program that both the federal government and the states share for enrolling poor and near poor people in Medicare. And Medicare has always been a program for the poor. So if you're at 100% of the federal poverty line or below, you're usually eligible for Medicaid in your state. One of the things this bill does is it increases the Medicaid eligibility level to 133% of the federal poverty line. So that's millions more people that will be eligible for health care welfare, essentially, in the states. Going forward, Medicaid is a completely out of control program. It grows by 7 or 8% a year easily. It has all the problems of government-run health care that you might think. And so when you enroll more people on it, you're simply taking a program that's already going bankrupt and you're accelerating its demise.
Boy, a couple things. Jeff, I don't know if we confirmed this yesterday, but the tweet you saw from Scott Baio, that's the Scott Baio, right? Okay. Jeff found a tweet from Scott Baio yesterday that pointed out that Stupak, spelled backward, is kaputs. So, and I found that particularly relevant given that that's what happened to preventing taxpayer-funded abortion. That was actually the result. If you don't know a lot about Americans United for Life, among other things, we are a public interest law firm. So we feel like we have a unique role to play right now in the aftermath of this because we've got a lot of attorneys. They're pro-life attorneys and they want to do something about this. So just a couple points to make. First of all, on this executive order, there's a lot of confusion about the executive order. President Obama signed, to my knowledge, and Anna's here with me, she's an attorney on our staff, but to my knowledge, there's 2 important, significant executive orders that the president signed on life previous to this one. One was, of course, on the Mexico City policy, which I found it interesting that this administration would endorse providing funds to organizations that provide abortions overseas, but yeah, a promise not to do so in domestic law, which of course we know they weren't serious about keeping that promise. And then the second one was the one on stem cells, which encourages more embryo destruction. So they don't have a particularly good track record with executive orders. Then you add to that Kathleen Sebelius was famously the most pro-abortion governor in America before she came here to have this new job. You put that into history, and then you look at the executive order that was signed. We have a piece we're circulating that was written by William Saunders, who's our most senior attorney at Americans United for Life. This actually came out before we knew about the Stupak deal that had been reached with the White House. But when we analyzed the executive order, not only is an executive order not adequate and not worth the paper it's printed on, but as executive orders go, this isn't even a good one. So, so it doesn't accomplish what Congressman Stupak purports that it does. The press was, of course, is always queasy to covering the life issue. And we argued that this was going to come down to the life issue, and it did come down to the life issue. If Stupak and his group of folks had held fast, we wouldn't be having this discussion this morning. So what we're hoping is that we can continue to make that the case.
As a queasy member of the press, I'm curious about, Stupak gave an interview with Megyn Kelly yesterday on Fox News, and he said that the executive order did in fact have the Hyde language that said the Hyde language will apply. How does that not work? Please spell it out for me because I'm so queasy.
Well, a statute can't be overridden by an executive order because the law is what Congress passed and that the president signed today. So the law explicitly contradicts Hyde in that the Hyde language or the Hyde Amendment doesn't just prohibit direct funding of abortion, but also prohibits federal funds from going to insurance plans that cover abortion. But the Senate created bill that's now the law of the land changes that and says that federal subsidies can go to insurance plans that fund abortion. So that it expressly contradicts Hyde. So you can't say in an executive order, well, the law says we expressly contradict Hyde, but now we're going to apply Hyde. But if you look at the language of the executive order, although it says at one point in the beginning, you know, that we're applying the principles of Hyde and extending it to this. It doesn't actually. If you look at Section 2 that addresses those insurance exchanges, all it does is reinforce, or reaffirm, I guess, because it doesn't even really reinforce, but affirms the Senate-created language that allows those federal subsidies to go to insurance plans that fund abortion. So it's disingenuous to say that this extends Hyde, but it's also practically impossible for an executive order to extend Hyde to a bill that explicitly says it doesn't.
And so you're pretty clear that Stupak is more than aware of this and just sort of sold the farm on this.
Well, if you look at the amendment that Stupak had proposed and that he had passed the House bill, he must be aware of the difference. You see that, I mean, you can look at his statements, but that's a better question to ask him than to ask me. But if you look at his previous statements, it seemed fairly clear that he understood the difference between the Senate passed language and his amendment.
Yeah, and we have, actually, we can give this to him, but
Yeah.
if you go to our blog, AUL legal team posted this. It's called "Why the Executive Order Does Not Prevent Taxpayer-Funded Abortion." It's in addition to the Examiner piece, but it gives some pretty detailed legal analysis as to why this isn't going to cut the mustard.